What's on my mind this morning is this issue about legalizing bad words, the obscenity issue. Because opposition, it's in the news again, because this is not the first time this has come up, but it's in the news now because opposition Senator Dr. Andre Haughton has said that he intends to move a motion which seeks to allow the use of profanity in the dancehall space. And he raised these concerns after the fully loaded stage show Emancipendence Weekend, and the Japanese-based sound clash group Mighty Crown was there, and they were using all sorts of colorful Jamaican language, and the police warned them to desist from doing so. So Andre, Oh, okay. So Dr. Andre Haughton said obscene language shouldn't be considered as such when used in the context of a dancehall performance.
Okay. In an event that you're in the dance hall, and then the dance hall, you have one and two people who use one and two words that on a regular day would be seen as offensive. I think they should be allowed to use them in the dance hall if they want to. I don't think that children are there, or Christian people are there, or whatever the case may be. Fully loaded is a sound clash event. You know, with sound clash is a war at one sound, war against another sound, war against another sound. You are telling me, say, they know should be censored as if a picnic come watch. When you watch Sesame Street and Disney World, that's censored, yes, but you pay your money to go watch the war.
So he says that he wants to review the act, which makes using obscene language illegal.
It is written in the town and communities act, so I'll be reviewing it, as well as I have a team to review it along with me, and then if it is the case that we will soon want to move a motion to give permission to the dancehall to express itself how it so desires. James Bond's fire gun in a movie, you know, gun illegal, you know. It's a movie.
And he also says that Jamaican bad words are considered comical when used in the context of a dancehall performance.
There are 8 billion people in the world. Only 6 million of that 8 billion would understand what these curse words are. If you cuss a bad word to the Queen, she laugh. If you cuss a bad word to the... When them a cuss bad word all on late night TV, it's just comical now. It's not that serious as how some people, oh Lord God, the world is falling down.
So that's Dr. Andre Haughton, an opposition senator. He was speaking with Nationwide News. And for the most part, I actually agree with him, Dennis. There are... Where I digress is that I don't think there should be a special caveat for dancehall. I think the law should be done away with altogether. So some people criticize this issue as trivial, and they say Dr. Haughton should focus on more important things, which he has, because this isn't the only issue that he's taken on. People are allowed to take on multiple issues. He's also been a strident advocate for ganja liberalization and the economic potential of that plant for several years.
Right.
But anyway, I agree with him on this bad word issue. It's a quality of life issue based on an ancient, unnecessary law. And he's hardly the first person to have raised this issue. So in doing my research for this segment, I came across quite a number of pieces written in support of removing this law from the books over the years, including one written by Carol Walker for The Observer in 2012. And he was commenting on the time. You remember this case in Yala St. Thomas in 2012, in which a heavily pregnant Kayan Lamont was shot and killed by a policeman.
Yes. And
that policeman was initially responding to her loud cursing out of her sister. Yes. So she and her sister were in this argument, and she was using bad words, and the policeman responded. I still don't know how that escalated to him shooting this heavily pregnant woman, and she was killed. And then another article I came across was from Annie Paul, a noted blogger. She wrote in 2016, "It's high time that the law against using indecent language in public is taken off the books. In a society which acknowledges widespread abuse of power by the police, the state must remove any unnecessary pretext lawmen might have for arresting citizens, especially when the so-called crime is absolutely no threat to public order. people should have the right to curse when they're upset. And if police are breaking the law by cursing at them for no rhyme or reason, yes, citizens should have the right to curse back without being manhandled on the pretext of being arrested. So I also saw several complaints by entertainers across the years, 2006 being one incident where it was heavily reported, and many other examples. So what exactly is the law? What does the law say? Well, it's Section 9C of the Town and Communities Act. And it says, any persons who shall make on a fence, wall, or other building any obscene figure, drawing, painting, or representation, or sing or any profane, indecent, or obscene song or ballad, or write or draw any indecent or obscene word, figure, or representation, or use any profane, indecent, or obscene language publicly, can be subject to a fine not exceeding $1,500 or to imprisonment with or without hard labor for a period not exceeding 30 days. And that law was drafted in 1834, the year of emancipation, and was last amended in 1997. I guess they updated the fine to $1,500, and it does not specify which words are deemed to be obscene, profane, or indecent. It leaves that to the police to make that particular determination. But there are several contradictions within this law and several issues that arise because, first of all, what is public? What is a public space? Because if I'm paying my money to go to a party, which is part of Dr. Haughton's argument, if I'm paying my money to go to this party, and that party is not generally open to the public unless you pay to enter, and it's also not open to children, how is that not considered a private event? And how is it that a disc jockey at that party can play music with obscene language at the event, but as soon as the entertainer goes on stage to perform the very same song, now that's illegal? How does that make any sense at all? Yeah? How is it that I can pay to go to an R-rated movie, and the movie is full of expletives? How is that different from attending a stage show where the entertainers use expletives?
I was asking the question the other day, if at a poetry reading,
there we go,
or a book
or a play,
if it has expletives in it,
because those are live performances as well, and it's done. I've been to poetry readings where you probably have titles of poems that are named with quote unquote obscene language. So those are live events as well. How is that different from what happens at dance hall events? Don't the actors or the poets get a bly for creative license? How is it different? And maybe one could argue, when I gave the example of the movie theater, right? What is a private versus a public event? Maybe one could argue that an open-air event is different from, say, a movie theater, which is an enclosed space, because, in an open-air event, the words will carry through the air.
So
and
that means
disturb
like drive-through theaters,
other people.
You can't play certain movies?
I don't know. But I'm thinking if the issue is it's an open-air event and the words will carry, then isn't that really a noise issue? And shouldn't that be covered under the Noise Abatement Act and taken into consideration when approving the license? Because how is that different than my neighbor playing loud, obscene music? Or my neighbor watching a loud R-rated movie with lots of cursing in it? Because legally, my complaint in that situation would have to be a noise complaint rather than a language complaint. They can't arrest my neighbor for obscene language if my neighbor is not the one uttering the obscene language, if it's just being played, since my neighbor isn't the one personally doing the cursing. There are just so many contradictions within this law.
I think where the common law is concerned and the use of obscenities or expletives, a part of the offense is that it ought to cause distress. And I don't know that at a stage show it causes distress. It's not like you're hurling abuses. I'm hurling abuses at you, and I'm causing you distress. And it is now...
Because quite the contrary, the audience is enjoying it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a part of the interpretation. The causing of distress is an element in whatever crime that would be adjudged, I would say.
Yeah, there are things to consider. I think it's an unnecessary law, and it's time we do away with it for good. That's what's on my mind.